Chime actually has a recruiting module. It pulls in all the agents in your MLS based on your MLS. And in fact, in some areas, you can actually see those agents' production numbers.
Yes.
You can see how many deals they've closed. And if you have that kind of data, well, you just target people that close less than 5 deals a year and you call them up and you offer what you offer. If you don't have a good value proposition, then you shouldn't be running a team. Your value proposition should be strong, right?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Weekly Chime. We got me, we got Kory, which is awesome to have. We'll get to you in a second, Kory. And we got Trenton. Hello, Trenton. How are you today?
Splendid. Ready to lead routing.
Trenton, I want you to go back to the animated like GIF head that you had on earlier. I think you should do the entire webinar with that. There we go.
I like that.
Kory is here to talk to us today. Kory, you've got a lot for us today, right?
Yeah.
If for those of you that have no idea who Kory Prince is, first of all, go back and watch another episode of our Weekly Chime, because Kory has been on this, and you've been on this now a handful of times, right?
5, 6 times, something like that, maybe.
Okay, so for those that don't know, Kory and I go way back, back into the days. Kory remembers me being completely stressed out in my business, and I used to call Kory and vent a lot. So Kory is not only a phenomenal real estate agent, he's not only a phenomenal. Do you coach now?
I don't coach. I coach my own team, but not outside of it. Yeah.
Okay. Phenomenal guy to get to know. And on top of that, if you ever need a great therapist when it comes to real estate, Kory's the guy to call. But Kory's taken his business and he's kind of run a little bit different model. He ran, when everybody else was running one direction, Kory turned around and ran the other direction. And the direction he ran was, he is his own ISA, which a lot of people would never want to do that. But Kory has built a very, very, very successful business out of it. And with that, Kory, what are you talking to us about today?
So yeah, just sort of where, when upon sign up, basically what happens next is sort of where I think people just continually get questions. People just keep asking me over and over, when somebody signs up on the website, what do you do? What happens? And I've tried the model where I used to distribute leads to agents directly, which I think a lot of teams do, where the lead comes in, it goes to Brett, it goes to Kory, it goes to Brett, just on whatever weighted distribution or lead routing that you have. And at scale, you're going to find that some agents will follow up with those leads and some agents won't, and it will be very discouraging and you'll feel like you're wasting your money sometimes. So the ISA model is something that I took on pretty early on, just out of a necessity to feel like the leads are actually being nurtured properly and standardizing that process. So if you have one agent and that agent's good at following up, then you'll probably have good follow-up until they get busy working on real estate deals, and then that will fall by the wayside. So if you scale to 20, 30, 40, 100 agents or whatever this team size or brokerage size would be, there's just going to be a tiny percentage of them that's going to do what you've laid out as a protocol to follow up. It's just the nature of detail-oriented people versus salespeople. That's what I found. So what I did is I took over as ISA using Chime and starting with the AI assistant first. So I let the AI assistant touch it for a number of days, and then I used the tags that it assigns to essentially triage the lead into different pipelines and different automations. And all the while that's happening, I'm using behavioral cues to send voicemail drops, for me to pick up the phone and call people, for me to respond to some of the automated texts that I send after the AI assistant is sort of has finished. And yeah, that's last week I set 7 appointments for agents on the team working 2 hours a day doing it. So obviously that's better than 0. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. When you qualify these leads for these agents, are you sending once they're ready to go show a home, or someone that's kind of, looking to purchase here in the next, 6 months or so?
That's a really, really good question, because your instinct is get it to the agent as fast as possible so they can build a relationship. But if you don't have some rapport with that particular lead or client, you don't have some value proposition why they should be working with you, you haven't really earned their business, you'll find the agent will just maybe drop the ball because they're busy working with other clients, or call the lead once, and then when the lead never calls them back, just think, well, this lead isn't interested. So I basically push them as much as I can as far as working the lead just with me interacting. I'll send them bomb videos. I'll get on the phone with them. I'll text them. I'll video text them. So when the time comes for them to meet, it's typically going to be at a property or as like a listing appointment. And then I set the tone in the first conversation. I would say, like, if Brett was the agent, I'd say, you know, what my job is I'm the one who basically helps you in the research phase. I get all your listings set up. I organize everything. I search all the MLSs, all the off-market and on-market listings. And then what happens when the time comes to view a property, I've got somebody who's just amazing at showing you properties, getting you the information on them, and negotiating the deals. It's like a different skill. That's the surgeon, you know? And they go, okay, that makes sense. And then they're prepared when I pass them off to Brett. Because if you don't do that, and then you pass them off a week or two after you've chatted with them, they kind of feel like you're passing them off. As opposed to, this is like a cohesive part of the team that's actually going to benefit them, right?
Yeah, and I think that you're building that trust with them. And so that way they'll trust you to trust the agent that you're then pass them off to versus, hey, okay, well, I have an agent now, you know, and then of course they can't get a hold of them and then it kind of loses that lead. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way we work, go ahead, sorry.
No, you go right ahead.
So the way we work it in Chime as well is that I remain as the assigned to agent. So the property alerts come from me. I've got that relationship with them. They see my picture with me and my fiance of the signature. They see all that, right? And then what happens is they're assigned as another role, which we call lead agent. So it says lead agent, then it says assigned agent. The reason I do that is so that the voicemail drop automations and things like that can work in Chime, because it has to be a my plan versus a team plan for voicemail drops to work, right? So that's one of the little tweaks that we use. And then it keeps me front of mind and top of mind. So once they're passed off to the showing agent or the agent who's working with them, they're getting property alerts from me. So they're seeing me in these alerts. And then when I text them, let's say it's been 8 days since the agent has reached out to them and they've shown them a property, I only let it go 7 days before I touch them. So I would text them and I'd be like, oh, it's Kory again. Wanted to see if there was anything you've seen that you liked lately, ? Like I'd send a text, right? And they know who I am. They know my name. They know everything has me on it. So they treat it really as a team. Like the agent might be showing the property, but it's my client as well. So it's like we have a bit more cohesion there, right?
It's funny, Kory. This goes directly in line. You do it just slightly different, but you do it basically the same way I do my showing agent model.
Right.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what's your handoff process?
So handoff process, what usually happens is I start the conversation about like, you're the agent, Brett. I'd be like, oh, Brett's great. He lives in blah, blah, blah. He knows this. He's going to be good when the time comes. So I set the stage in the first call. Then say 2-3 calls, 2-3 texts later, and it's time. They're like, this property on Main Street's phenomenal. We want to see it. Great. Well, Brett's going to show it to you. Here's what's going to happen. And then I always tell them next step. So the next step is I'm going to assign Brett. Brett's going to reach out, or Brett's going to meet you at this property. And then I tag Brett. I tag you in a note in Chime saying, just assigned to you. Tim's the client. Here's his kids, blah, 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 blah. I basically just use a speech to text program in Chime to rifle off everything in the notes, put at Brett Baker, click update, and then it gets an email to that agent to tell them what's up, right?
Yeah. It's funny, Kory, and for those of you that are watching this, so it's funny that Kory is doing a much more localized version of what we do so what we use is my wife has one business. I run a different business. Business that I run is, we have 24 agents in 5 states, and this is exactly how it's done. We basically hand off referrals to each one of those agents. In my wife's business, she has had her business in Washington going now for quite a while. And what she does is she has she has showing agents there. She hasn't stepped foot in the state of Washington in over a year. And she has agents that are out there, showing agents that are out there doing all this work. And she tees up these opportunities for her showing agents. The client experience is just so much better because, Kory, you're giving the first experience, the first impression someone has of your business, someone is there. They're getting you. You're the experience.
Yeah.
So you're hand holding them the whole way.
And that's the way I sell it to them too. Like when we're talking on the phone, I don't say you have to work with us. You're committing to us. I never say that in the beginning. I actually, I'll put that up and say, look, I don't expect you to commit to working with us. We just met. And you can almost hear them go, because every person's trying to get them to sign something or commit to them. And I say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to work for you. I'm going to search all the listings on all the MLSs in the areas that you're looking. I'm going to search off market, on market. I'm going to compile them, organize them, put them all together. I'm going to select the top 5. Your house could be in this top 5 that I'm going to send it over to. Okay. And they're like, oh, wow, that's so great. And then I put a bomb video with that list of properties with me doing 35 seconds, a minute and a half of introing, talking about some of the things we talked about on the call. And nobody else is doing that.
Right.
Nobody else is putting that much effort in. Because I'm not in production, I don't actually meet these people in person. So I can do this with 50 people a day. Right. And that economy of scale is what really matters. And then when the agent gets the pass off and they keep talking about me, that agent goes, wow, Kory really has rapport with these people. It's not like a normal handoff. A normal handoff is this person, I'm going to refer you a lead, or this person said they want to show property. I pass it to Brett and I make you do all the work.
Right.
I control it right until like basically they're sold on us being our client. And then just go from there. And then the agent I choose doesn't even really matter to them as much because they trust me. Right.
Yeah. How do you handle the splits with that?
Good question. So we do a higher split on ISA passed off deals. So we do a 50-50 split on normal deals, like anything. And then we do a 70-30 in the team's favor. So we take 70 on ISA TW.
Got it. How are you finding those agents?
Good question. So Chime actually has a recruiting module. A lot of people don't know about this, and it's in beta. It's in beta right now. So Chime's going to get inundated right now with their support by me mentioning that. But it actually pulls in all the agents in your MLS based on your MLS. And in fact, in some areas, you can actually see those agents' production numbers.
Yes.
And see how many deals they've closed. And if you have that kind of data, well, you just target people that close less than 5 deals a year and you call them up and you offer what you offer. If you don't have a good value proposition, then you shouldn't be running a team. Your value proposition should be strong, right?
And this, for those that don't know, this is why Kory and I get along so well, is because he tells it really straight. And there were definitely times when I was running my business that he was like, Brett, you're an idiot. I was like, okay. But he tells it really straight. And the truth is, if you don't have a great value proposition, you shouldn't be running a team, period. And it's really great that you put that out there because I totally agree with that.
Well, how many people have tried somebody's tried to recruit you when you were maybe in production, saying something like, you should join our brokerage. We're great. We've got leads, we've got this, we've got that. And then when people join those brokerages, they get offered almost nothing. They just give me half or give me whatever percentage that's going to come in. And you don't really get anything in exchange for it. So people are gun shy if you start talking teams. So when I'm like recruiting people, I don't say you should join our team. I say, let's have a conversation to see if we're a good fit to do business at all.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh,
exactly.
Like, well, I say most people we're not going to ask to join the team. That's just the way it is. Most people aren't going to fit. So it's like it's not something to, it changes the dynamic, right? And then you just got to work. It's like real estate leads. You got to call and talk to a lot of people to get a lot of results. It's just the way it is, right?
It's that's an interesting. So when you're trying to bring on a new team member, you're not even saying like, hey, join my team. You're basically just saying like, hey, let's go chat.
Yeah, let's like what right now. One of the lists that I'm using is just people off of Google, just Google places or Google profiles in a region that we want agents. And then I sorted them, scraped them, and I've sorted them by ones with no reviews and ones that aren't a corporation, meaning they're probably not doing very much business, right? And I'm just literally picking up the phone and calling them and saying, hey, look, we do a lot of business in the area. I'm looking for somebody maybe I can partner with. They go, what do you mean? I go, well, somebody on the team or somebody to refer business to if we can't fill capacity. Okay. and then I just talk to them. And in a couple minutes, you can decide whether this person is team material or not, and then make it out and move on to the next one, right? I'm calling like 10, 15 people a day like that with recruiting every day. So
that's for you, if you guys are not taking away what Kory's putting down here, the takeaways from this are, dude, this is, yeah. You're a disruptor, Kory. I love it. What were you saying, Trenton?
Well, my biggest takeaway so far has been that I've experienced where what happens if that agent can't get a hold of the lead, and it's like you never have to worry about that because you, Kory, you're the one talking to them, and basically it's like once they're ready to actually talk to the agent, you're just having them meet, so it's not even like they have to like pick up the phone to call them and everything. So I think that really eliminates that hassle.
Yeah. Well, and what we've done is we've narrowed down the pipelines in Chime to essentially the agent's responsible for the showing pipeline. So if they're a buyer and they're in the showing pipeline, they need to keep on top of those 20, 25 people that are in their showing pipeline. Every other pipeline stage is going to be managed by ASAs because it's a more standardized process and they're going to do a better job at it because the agent's probably not going to do that, right?
So you have the agent actually showing those, so you have them in their pipeline, but you have them in their Chime account.
Well, I have a team account, right?
Yeah.
And then exactly. Then I assign them as the lead agent, meaning not the assigned agent, which is me, but the lead agent. And then they'll have permission to see it and they'll have permission to work on it. So at the time of appointment set, that's when I do that, right? Right.
Yeah. That's very interesting. It's a very different way to do it, which I like. The way we've always done it is, again, we handle the ISA portion essentially, and then all we're doing is handing off, like we're basically setting up the showing with the showing agent essentially. So the showing agent really doesn't have to do anything other than the stuff that we don't want to do, which is we don't want to go show houses because that's a $20 an hour task. They don't need me to tell them where the kitchens and bathrooms are.
Like when I was in production, that's one thing that really, every time I was showing properties, I felt like it was Groundhog Day. Like, I'm not here to sell you on this property. I'm here to negotiate this property when you like it. And I felt like I was wasting my time a lot of the time being there. Yeah. Because I'm not trying to sell you on something you don't want. That's not my job.
Right.
I have a business partner, a guy named Zaya Kaji, which you actually know.
I love him.
And he's like the sales manager and team lead. So I'm not in production, but I'm still licensed, but he's in production still. So he sits down with the agents. He sort of does a lot of the training on listing appointments, on showing, on how that goes. I handle more of the architecture of the design of how the system works, as well as the ISA role to hand off. So we should have him on one of these days too.
We should. We really need to. He's a phenomenal guy and has a totally different take on things as well, which is it's fun. It's always fun getting you guys on because you do things different, which is good. That's good.
I think when it comes to like the ISA role, where a lot of people think, oh wow, that's too much work. It's like, if I didn't have to do it this way to get the result, I would. But I mean, yeah, like if at sign up leads going to specific agents and rotation converted at a really decent level, I would do. Yeah, I just found that it just didn't. I don't know
exactly.
It just didn't for me. Yeah.
It's funny because we do get a ton of people that tell us how, like, oh, that must be so difficult. It's like, it really isn't, because Kory, I don't know about you, man, but we run a 9 to 5. Like,
too.
I mean, at the end of the day, you know, when you set it up the same way you're doing it, similar to the way we're doing it, but if you use this model, right, you set your own hours. You're there 9 to 5, and that's it. At the end of the day, you go home. You're not out until 9 p.m. showing houses. Somebody else is. So you actually get a life, which is shocking, because so few agents want that. They feel like they're too good to work the leads. And the irony in that is they're not. They're handing off their first impression to someone that doesn't know their area.
Yeah.
How does that make sense? So
yeah. And here's the really interesting thing about our model. I'm unique because I know the areas, because I was in production, but I don't even live in the same province anymore.
Right.
Like I'm like, I know you guys are, I'm Canadian, so I speak in kilometers, but I'm like 1,000 miles from where my market is right now.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I'm kilometers. Oh my God.
Yeah. Like I happen to know the areas, so I like actually can speak to them. But like, and I'm usually come clean with the leads too. I say, no, I'm in Edmonton. I'm in Alberta. And you go, oh, really? And then I explain why and like how that works. And they're usually okay with it. And if somebody's not, well, you just look for another lead, right?
Yeah. So you're working a 9 to 5. Well, I guess for both of you guys, what do you guys do with the leads that come in, on the outside hours that you're not working? Are you saving that for follow up for the next day? Do you have like an AI that follows up, or even what happens if someone, like one of your clients, actually is messaging you during that time? What do you do then?
I'll let Kory go, and then I'll go, because mine's going to be different, I promise.
Okay, so I use the AI assistant heavily, so it interacts with a lot of stuff. I have the Chime app on my cell phone, so I do have push notifications if anything sort of pops up. I'm pretty reluctant to respond to stuff unless I need to. Once my girl's home or once we're together and we're relaxing, I tend not to respond to that sort of stuff. I tend to put my phone away. So the AI is a big part of it. And then just responding during normal hours. Like I usually start at 9 o'clock. So at 9 o'clock, I'll hit the phones. 9 o'clock, I'll go through the inbox in Chime. And if you work hard enough and you really time block your day out, so it's not just working for 10 hours or working for 8 hours, but I know that during this 2-hour block, I'm prospecting and my goal is to book 2 appointments. If I'm really focused and I do that, I don't have to work 24/7. I just have to work really hard when I'm focused on one task and then do the task. And when it comes to booking appointments or just prospecting in general, there's nothing that's really a higher value task than that. Sure, somebody responding back saying, hey, could you set this up for a 2-bedroom condo? Sure, I'll answer them. Maybe not immediately, but I'll reply back with some real value, like a bomb video that says, oh, thanks so much, Brett. I really appreciate it. And I'll have like on the bomb video, I'll have Brett across this. And then in the GIF that opens in their email, it says Brett on the board with my face. Like, who's not going to click that? If it said Kory on the board with Brett's face, I'd be like, I click that 100% of the time. I'm curious, right? So yeah, I just had to add value when I do get back to them.
It's funny. Kory is what I consider the highest paid ISA pretty much in existence. But truly, we actually do things very similarly. And so the way we do it is we have the AI assistant take over from basically when we're done. So 9 to 5, right? So at 6 p.m., our AI assistant takes over. And so in the morning, let's say that a lead comes in at 2 in the morning and they have a conversation with the AI assistant because, I don't know, they're like me and they don't sleep. And so long story short, we show up in the morning and, hey, here's a list of new people that registered. Oh, this guy came in at 2 a.m. Awesome. Hey, Trenton, Brett over the Baker team just want to reach out to you real fast and have a conversation. Saw that you talked to my assistant last night. She left me this hot pink Post-it note on my computer. Just want to talk to you. It looks like you're looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath house in Richland. What price point are you looking to stay in? And now you're just like, holy shit, like I just got hit with a lot here. Yeah. Wait, that person was real? That's usually what I get. Like, wait, they were real? Yeah, we have 24-hour coverage because we're that busy. How can I help you today? And they're like, oh my God, that's great. But that's exactly what it is. I use the AI assistant to buy my time back. I don't use it for 100% follow-up. I use it to buy my time back. I use it so that when, I want to go to a soccer game with, like kids, or if I want to go to, I don't know, watch the Seahawks lose with my wife, we can go do it. She's going to give me shit for that. But we can go do that. We have time alone. When Kory is done for the day, he probably turns on his AI assistant and he turns off and he unplugs. And if someone reaches out during that time, hey, I get back to him in the morning. And that's just how it works. And it works great because people start respecting your time.
It's like, that's a really good point. Respecting your time. You teach people how to treat you. And if you have abundance, you're not worried about some really angry or some really impulsive potential client telling you to jump and you asking how high, because you feel like you need that paycheck. Like a general employee or something, they don't answer a call at 10:30 at night because somebody has a question. They deal with it at 9:30 because that's the way their business is and they can afford it, right?
Yeah. It's
go ahead. Sorry, a little side note too. And when it comes to after business hours, like when I'm not working, the AI assistant will deal with showing requests. So if somebody requests a showing, it will reach out and say, "Oh, I noticed you requested a showing. When would you like to take a look?" or whatever it is. As well as if you have an agent assigned on the lead, so the lead agent role that we have, they'll get notified by email as well. And if it's in the showing pipeline and it's their client, they should be dealing with that showing request anyway, because that's how they're dealing with is people that are looking at properties.
Yep. It's we actually have a smart plan set up that if someone requests a showing, it will actually send them a text that's like, "Hey, what time works best for you?" type of thing. We'll start coordinating that with the seller. It starts showing that we're doing stuff for them, even if it's after hours.
Yeah, me too. And then I have a voicemail drop that would go out in the morning if I haven't touched it yet, that says, "Oh, I'm working on this. Make sure to reply to my text."
Yep. Right. Absolutely. It's a CYA, right? So this is I think what I learned from doing real estate at the level I was doing real estate, and anybody that, like Kory knows me from back then, those that know me from back then and really know the struggle that I went through, the struggle was I got a lot of business really fast, really fast, like holy crap fast. And the downside to that was I had to scale very quickly to make that happen. And there were definitely times where my team would walk in to the office and I would be passed out on my desk because that was like the 6th night in a row that I slept at my office because I was that busy. And so I learned right out of the gate, like, hey, if you want this to be sustainable, everybody wants a lot of business and they want a lot of money coming in like that. And I get it. But if you want that to be sustainable, you have to have a clear path to having a work-life balance. Because if you don't, and I didn't for a really long time, you will burn out. It's bottom line. You're going to burn out. And so where I see people wanting to get to these really crazy numbers, people are like, "Man, I'd love to throw down the numbers that you were throwing down." I'm like, I hated it. Like, the money was great, but I hated it because I didn't at the time have systems that I now have in place. And now people go, you're still doing real estate, right? I'm like, that's the attitude that I like hearing. Like, yes, I am. But I actually am happy in my life because I get to do things outside of that. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, like having the kind of life that you want and lifestyle that you want is a lot more important than money. I also, if you don't have enough money to survive or live on, money becomes the highest priority. But once you get past a certain threshold of income, lifestyle and like time with family and the things that matter, become so much more important than money. But when you have no money, you need to get that money. There's just
fact.
Yeah.
I think what and this is going to be a topic for another weekly chime, but we need to talk about, how a real estate agent can use their time in real estate to develop both tools for outside of real estate and develop revenue streams outside of real estate. Because I think a lot of real estate agents will just stay in the industry. I mean, we're going to use my dad as a prime example of this. My dad worked literally until the day he died. And I mean that. He worked literally in real estate until the day he died. And did he need to? No. but he was just so didn't want to let it go. And so what I would tell anybody watching this is the model that Kory and I run, they're different, but they're similar. The reason we run these models is because we want a life outside of work. We want to be able to go provide for family outside of work. We want to be there for our families outside of work. And we've figured out that when you're doing this, you can be the person running around and showing a gajillion homes to buyers, or you could be the person that is giving the customer the experience, handing that off to the $20 an hour task, which is the showings themselves. And then you actually have a work-life balance. You can go do stuff. You can work from home if you want to work from home, and you can do this anywhere. So that's something.
Yeah, no, totally. Like I could literally do what I do in Mexico.
Yeah,
Costa Rica, wherever, as long as the time difference didn't screw with me too much. All I need is a good internet connection. I need a webcam so that I can do little bonbon videos. I've got a headset that ties to my cell phone when I click to call in Chime, and that's really all I need.
Yeah, it can be done anywhere. If you how many hours a day are you prospecting, Kory? Are you 9 to 5?
I'm 9 to 5, not all prospecting. Basically, I do 2 hours a day prospecting for the team, so to set appointments for the agents, 1 hour for recruiting, so 3 hours prospecting total. And in the afternoon, I just design the architecture and work on the automations and do all the lead management stuff like that.
So just a few hours of prospecting, really.
A day, every day, Monday to Friday. Yeah.
Yep. On the weekends off.
And the weekends completely off. Yeah.
Yep. This is, guys, it is different, because if you take what Kory and I do and you kind of extrapolate that, if more agents did this, it would be run, the industry would be run differently. However, a lot of people are afraid to give up what they feel is the control, and you're actually taking back control of your business, because you're controlling the conversation from day one. So also, if I probably, and I'm not going to, so we're out of time, but if I prodded Kory for net profitability, I bet they have a pretty high net profitability because of this model. So.
And when you get out of production, that's one of the most challenging things. And if you own a team, is you're probably double the net profitability that you're going to be when you get out, when you're in versus out, just because you're getting paid 100% of your deals. And if you're a high producer, which tends to be why people start teams, they might have 70% of production of the team in the beginning. So if you take that away, it might not even be profitable. And that's a harsh realization for some people. So you got to design around that, right?
Exactly. Bottom line, people are trying very hard to outsource their business right now. What Kory has done is insource it. For those of you that are concerned about the future of real estate, I would consider insourcing instead of outsourcing. And my reason for that is very simple. You're controlling the narrative, you're giving the experience, you're keeping the people happy. If you outsource, you lose a lot of control. And that's the bottom line. It doesn't matter how well people are trained, but you lose a lot of control. So that's my 2 cents on it. Kory, final thoughts?
Yeah, well said. I would agree with that. And I would say, if you don't do that role yourself for at least a significant period of time, you're not going to know what it looks like when it's well done. Because people bring in ISAs all the time, and they give them 3 months, 6 months, 2 months, whatever, to be successful. And if the traction with the actual deals is not there in that first short period of time, they think it doesn't work. But they don't really know like what it takes to build that pipeline if they haven't done it. So they might not have reasonable expectations of that person, right? So it's tough. And if you're paying somebody X amount per month plus a bonus on every single deal, it's even harder to be profitable. So that's ideal if you can get enough ISAs going like that, but you're going to operate at tighter margins than if you do it yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Trenton, final thoughts.
I think it's great. I think being able to do your position kind of anywhere is great as well. There was a couple of comments and concerns in regards to not being local. But I think that's just important for them to know that you were local at one point in time and you know the area, and that is why you're able to excel outside of that area to do that business model.
Yeah.
Like sorry, go ahead.
No, you go right ahead.
No, you first.
Fine. But basically, Kory is local. And just like, because he knows the area, he lived there, he ran a business there, he still knows the area quite well. So in a lead's eye, he is still local. In fact, I'm probably sure you Canadians, do you have a different area code versus sorry, all of my family's in Canada. You'd think that I would know this, but do you keep the same area code, or how does that work for you?
But I'm calling out of Chime with a virtual number that has a local area code, right? Right.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. So, and the truth is, like, if I ask Kory about, Port Coquitlam, and I pronounced it right, and I dive in deep and I start really getting like into the nitty gritty, Kory's going to be able to keep up with me on it because he worked there for so long. It's the same thing with, if you asked me a whole bunch of stuff about California, I'd be able to dive so deep into Seal Beach, California, that it would blow your mind. Am I anywhere near there? No, I'm in the freezing cold. But it's the same principle. I know the area because I lived and worked there. But Washington, if you're like, hey, what's your favorite restaurant in Washington? Which is, by the way, my favorite question to ask. If I know I'm working with an ISA that is not in the area, first thing I'll be like, hey, so we're thinking about going to dinner tonight. Where would you go? And you just hear the guy like, McDonald's. You just
hear them searching restaurants on Google, like,
right. You hear it in the background. But that's the honest truth. And if someone were like, hey, we're in Eastern Washington, where are we going for dinner tonight? You're going to proof. You're getting an old fashioned. If Jeremy's the bartender, you're going to ask for him, have him make you an old fashioned. And by the way, their firecracker salmon is the best thing on the menu. And they're like, wow, that's really good advice. I could be sitting here in Alaska having that conversation with someone right now because I worked there. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Of course, I'm going over like usual. Sorry, Trenton.
Oh, that's good. I figured we would.
I did too. Anytime we get Kory on, dude, you have so much information, Kory. Can we do this again?
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to bring Zaya on.
I do too.
To get his 2 cents, because you're right. We're very different. We have very complementary skills, but very different. He's much more gifted when it comes to dealing with clients in person, and I'm much more gifted with systems and architecture. Sure.
Yes, very much so. I think we should do that on the next one. Let's get both of you in and kind of just let's talk more about how you guys came on your business model, how you guys partnered up. Let's break all of that down.
Sure. No, we could do that.
Cool. Let's make that happen, Trenton. I think we can make that happen.
Definitely.
Cool deal. Well, sorry for going over, everybody, but I hope you guys got a lot out of that. If you have any questions for Kory, you can reach out to him. Kory, how do they reach you?
Give you my company texting number, 604-270-8774, 604-270-8774.
And if you can drop that, Kory, in the chat, that would probably be the best. Trenton, how do people get a hold of you?
They can reach out on Instagram, tbodine37. You can pretty much find me on all socials with that.
Sweet. And if you need to get a hold of me, it's pretty easy, Brett@brettbakercoaching.com. You guys have a great rest of your day.